Hello and welcome. We're in the weeds. It's Wednesday, April 26th. Jeremy Lambert, are you enjoying that intro as much as I am every single time it plays? I know you are.
It's so funny. Like, I do like it. I'm not gonna lie and say that like I dislike it. If I disliked it that much, I'd be like, "Can we got to change this?" Like, no, we're done with this. But it does make me laugh and smile, so I can't say that I dislike it at all. It's good. Are you okay, Joel Pearl?
My allergies are acting up like mad, and I forgot to take allergy meds today. So I'm going to be looking awful throughout the show. I apologize in advance.
It's
That's what I
the
get.
worse than you usually look. That's not
Oh,
great.
I know. I'm sleep deprived. I'm allergy suffering. Put me out of my misery, Jeremy.
I mean, if I had the choice, if I could find somebody else to do this show with, then can you line up your own replacement and then you can just go. Like, I gotta approve of them first. I just don't want to put the work in to find your replacement. So you put the work in to find who's gonna put you out of your misery, who will do this show with me, and then we'll just move on, Joel. I feel like this is good. We made it 5 episodes. We're good. We had a good run. You and I together. I mean, I'm still going to do this show, but you and I together had a good run of 5 episodes.
Yeah, I feel like our success can be predicated on the fact that for 5 weeks or for 5 episodes, not 5 weeks, we have coexisted. No shade at Rob and Maggie, who host coexisting on this channel on Fridays at they do 3:30 on this channel. They do.
Three.
No one does 3:30. Why do I keep saying that people do shows at 3:30? It's real bad.
Yeah, I don't know. We should we add a 3:30 show? I don't feel like we have enough stuff going on
No,
this channel.
never. We should never do
Why?
that. Why?
Add more shows, just like we can add more titles. Just add stuff to everything. More titles, more shows, more personalities. Overbooked here on Fightful.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. If we add more titles, maybe we'll have some consolation prizes. Let's set this up. Triple H on Raw comes out. They're doing tight shots of him as he's getting in the ring, and I'm like, oh, I know what's in the ring. There's a table and a belt. There's a prop there on that table in that ring, and they're not going to show you until it's time. So because of the tight shots, I'm like, oh, it's the new title. It's all it can be. And then that's what he introduces, the new World Heavyweight Championship. It looks like the Bruno belts. I know everyone's saying it looks like something else, but no, it looks like the old Bruno WWF belt from the 80s, from the 70s even. They just kind of modernized it with a little big gold flare. Anyway, here it is. It exists. What do we think? I mean, there's a lot of conversation around it, Jeremy, so we may as well dig right into it. And by the way, chat, if you hear hello, how are you? It's good to see you. A lot coming on today, a lot going on today. Sam Adonis is going to be joining us at 10:30, talking about his life in pro wrestling, talking about Demand Lucha in Toronto. That's happening on Thursday. That show is also on IWTV, so that's why we're also talking about it. And later on, we're going to be talking CM Punk with the other Chicago Phil. Grapsody's own Phil Lindsey is going to join us around 11 a.m. Eastern, talking about that. And I'm sure there's tons of other stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about AEW Preview, but if you want to donate a super chat, get your question statement read on the air, any amount, go ahead, support us so that Jeremy has no excuse to fire me as we get to In the Weeds episode 100 someday.
Are we going to make it 100 episodes?
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, we do 3 of these a week.
Yeah, true.
Not going to take that long for us to hit 100 episodes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know what we should do? Like, just before we get to, I think we got to get to 100 no matter what. Even if like we're just done and everyone realizes that the show should end by like episode 90, 40. We just got to get to 100 just to hit 100 no matter what, right? Like, even if it's run its course by episode 90, it's like, no, let's just get to 100. But then episode 95, we introduce In the Weeds Digging Deeper. And I don't know who hosts it. I don't know who does it, but we give that to them. We give In the Weeds Digging Deeper to somebody else. Like, here we go, In the Weeds Digging Deeper for everybody. I feel like this is good.
In the Weedsier?
No, stop it. No. I already had a good idea. Don't be like those people on on Twitter. This annoys me. All my ideas are great, by the way. Every single one of them. I've never had a bad idea in my life.
No, never.
All my ideas are great. And then the people like to jump in like, well, what if we did this instead? No, stop it. My idea is already good. I don't need you to try to improve on it. Knock it off.
So you don't like idea toppers either, eh?
No, idea topping's dumb. Just like, even if my idea is bad, even if I'm just trolling, which they're not, and I never do that, just let me have my idea and don't piggyback off of it. Like, you know what they should actually do is this. No, you have your own Twitter. Go throw your idea out on your social media on Sky Blue. Like, that's blue, whatever the new
Sky Blue is the AEW woman who is going to win Blood and Guts for her team in a few weeks when that gets announced.
Okay. Yes, just stop it. Just stop it. All right. This new title, Joel. This new title. It's the worst thing they could have done. It's the absolute worst thing they could have done. I can't defend this. I'll try to put a positive spin on it. I don't want anybody coming in here like, oh, you guys are negative about everything. That's a different show. So I'll try to put a positive spin on it. It's not good though. It's not, because you're basically saying, one, Roman's just smarter than everybody, because he's like, hey, you know what? I ain't showing up to defend this title all the time. Hey, I'll take my days off. I'll only show up to work whenever I want. You can't do anything about it. One, shout out to Roman Reigns. He's smart as shit for doing that. Two, it's like, oh, this is the title that's going to be the workhorse title. This is the one. This is a champion you can be proud of. Are we not proud of the guy who's held this title for 1,000 days? We can't be proud of this guy who you shook his hand 2 weeks ago, and I acknowledge you, Roman Reigns. We're not proud of that guy. I have to be proud of the person who gets this title now, and because nobody could beat Roman Reigns for the title, now we have to give this person this belt. They have 2 belts. Nobody told them to unify the titles to a year ago with Brock Lesnar. Nobody told him to do that. That was a Vince McMahon call. Triple H had opportunities to split them at any point. At any point, he could have done it. And I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's cowardly. He's cowardly that he didn't take the belt off of Reigns. He's cowardly when he didn't do it with McIntyre, which, fine. I kind of get that one. That one did feel like, let's not be a prisoner of the moment when it comes to Drew McIntyre, just because we're in Cardiff and it seems like this is a good time for it. Sammy, very cowardly not to do it there. That was not prisoner of the moment. That was the story makes sense. The moment is there. Everything aligns for Sammy to do it. That wasn't prisoner of the moment. Still cowardly. So cowardly they did it. Extremely Dylan Brooks level after game 4 won't talk to the media level cowardly of not putting the title on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Had plenty of opportunities. Could have done. I know everybody threw out the theories of like, oh, well, Cody can just win one of the time. I did too after the fact. But I said it from the start of whenever Roman loses, he should lose both belts. That's how it should be done. That's how it makes the most sense. That's what puts the most importance on it. But if this was your option, if this is what you were going to go with in the end of just let's introduce essentially a third title, then I would have been fine if you done, oh, it was written in the contract that it was only the WWE title. Oh, Sammy's only challenging for the Universal title. Oh, Cody, my idea was Cody's just like, I don't care about that Universal title. You keep that as a reminder that if I wanted that, I could have had that too when I beat you at WrestleMania. I'm all about this WWE title. That's the one that's eluded my family. That's the one that I want.
Let me give you even more. You have Cody go over at WrestleMania, and then you have him say, I'm now the guy, and I'm so serious about being on both shows and defending both titles that he continuously does it. He defends each, but he does it separately. He's like, on SmackDown, I defend the Universal Championship. On Raw, I defend the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But he does it so often, and he's such a workhorse that eventually one of those title matches fails. Not immediately, but eventually he works himself so hard that he loses that first match and he drops the Universal Championship, and then he goes exclusively with the black and gold title that he always wanted. It wasn't a hard story to tell. You give him that title and let him go hard with it. Both titles, let him go hard with it for 3 to 6 months. And then eventually he drops that one of those heavyweight championships, the Universal Championship in this case, to somebody who's willing and someone who's in that spot. It could have been Seth. It could have been Seth Rollins down the line. They do their fourth match. Seth finally gets his win back, and that's a moment.
Yeah,
and I'm just spitballing, and it doesn't make anyone look stupid in this case because Cody gets the rub of having both championships. He doesn't look like a dumb babyface by wanting to defend at all opportunities. And the only way that he, quote, looks stupid is that he went too hard. And you know what? Darby Allin did the same thing with his TNT championship run. He went too hard and eventually dropped the title, but he didn't look stupid when he dropped it. He just looked like he took on too much, bit off more than he could chew, and he lost the title. You could have done it like that. But instead, no, we're in the third inning. We have heat. But the problem is there's no heat because the guy with the heat is never on the show, but he's talked about on the shows. So you keep him in your head. But like there's this weird feeling that I get in that Triple H is slowly not writing himself in as a character. But I know that, he comes out and he talks about, giving the title or shaking and acknowledging Roman's hand, acknowledging him. I'm on no sleep, so you had to forgive my words this morning. But then also says, oh, the guy's here. He made a great deal, but also he never shows up to work. So LOL, he sucks. It almost makes me feel like Roman's going to show up the night after Backlash or the SmackDown after Backlash and be like, oh, so the boss has a problem with me, huh? Oh, how about I enter that competition in Saudi Arabia? And how about I win that world championship? And then LOL, you suck, Triple H. I have all the gold. Like, feels to me like they might go that way. And I know someone hit a meme with this. This was very funny where it was like 2023 draft, Triple H unveils that new title, and then it shows flash forward Night of Champions and he's got the new belt, and then the same thing 2024 new belt, and then Roman's got the belt again 2025. So they did 3 years, and I thought that was hilarious. But there's a part of me that's like, maybe you have Roman take that new world championship, and it's just like anytime a title is unveiled for Saudi, it never gets used again. The Greatest Royal Rumble being the only time that this has happened. So we could lean on that. Either way, it's just a stupid unveiling. It was not a good reveal. It was not a good reason. God bless Seth Rollins for trying to retcon it, make it look a little better, but not fun.
The reasoning is the most upsetting part. Yeah, Seth did a better job like giving a reason than Roman or than Triple H did. But this is the thing with the reasoning on it is they booked themselves into this corner and they didn't have to do it. No one told them to introduce this other title. No one told them to put Roman over everybody. They could have changed this at any time. They could have figured this out at any time. And this was their best idea? Like this is, you got all these writers, you got the Triple H who's been around the business for however many years now. You got his fruit basket booking, and this was their best ideas on there? Like, what are we doing here? If your best idea is just, hey, let's introduce a new world title to all this, when you already have 2 titles. You already have 2 titles, and now the undisputed is now disputed, I guess, because there's another champion. Let me throw out positive for you here, Joel Pearl. I do think it is good that they will have the championships on separate brands now. I think that is it, especially because Roman just isn't showing up for every show. I think it's good that you will have a champion on SmackDown and you will have a champion on Raw. I like that. I would like to see, when this draft happens on Friday, I would like to see a very hard split of things. I would like to see that. I would like to see the single brand pay-per-views return as well, especially because the pay-per-views are shorter, which is good. I don't need 5-hour pay-per-views anymore. Give some guys and girls more opportunity on just the single brand when it comes to getting on these shows, because a lot of these people aren't used like on the show. You look at the Backlash card and like, I don't know if Gunther is gonna be on Backlash, and it seems like, you know, Gunther, with the reigns he's had, he should probably be wrestling sort of every single pay-per-view at this point. So I would like to see a split brand when it comes to pay-per-views, and do single brand, I guess, premium live events. That's what they're calling them now. I would like to see that. So I do like there will be a champion on each show. You know, Triple H tried with trying to make the IC title more important and the US title more important, and he has elevated it. I don't want to take away from like what he was able to do in elevating them, but no one actually saw them as like, hey, this is the world title. It was still like Roman Reigns. Oh, that's the positive I got, is that at least we are going to get champions on each show, and we're not worried about like, when's this guy, like our champion just ain't showing up for most of these events. But now you got, let's say Roman Reigns is drafted to SmackDown. You got this SmackDown talent. Like, wait a second, this guy don't show up. What title am I going after here? Yes, now you still got to go after the IC and the US title. So that becomes sort of its whole other issue, is like, hey, I want to go on Raw where like the champion's there. Maybe I can win the world title. Or maybe some talent is like, no, I want to beat Roman Reigns. I want to be the guy who ends that streak.
We're going to have a lot of draft talk on Friday for the show, because that will be the kickoff to the WWE draft. But I mean, a couple things that I want to hit on. Number one, with Gunther, it feels like they're priming him to be opposite Roman Reigns. So on the opposite brand, as the anchor talent, as the anchor champion, while Roman's gone. And that's fine with me. I'm so not opposite. He'll be on the same brand as Roman, but he would be the anchor champion, which is fine with me, because that builds Gunther and that continues to build the prestige of the Intercontinental Championship. I'm as to who he could face at Backlash. I mean, they could run back Gunther and Woods, but I don't think they will.
I don't think he's going to be on Backlash. I think this is just a show that it's next week. I mean, and they've already they like to keep pay-per-views at like 6 matches or so, and they've already kind of filled that up. So I think it's just going to be event he misses, which I don't mind when these talents like miss events, because I don't want them to just overstack a lot of these shows. But this is why I would like the split pay-per-views to return. Is like, okay, well, there's now a reason why your Intercontinental Champion is not on this show, and it does open up more opportunities for the mid-card people to be on more premium live events.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. They like to keep the shows a little bit shorter, a little bit trimmer and neater. On top of that, you have the US Championship match is going to be the big meaty men match, and that's typically what Gunther's been doing for the last little while. So it makes sense. Give him a breather. Let the other championship have a showcase. And listen, I'll give you another hot take. I think Cody's going to wind up on the same brand as Roman Reigns, because I think we're still doing that match again. How it plays out, I don't know, but it feels to me like the winner of the World Championship, the new one, I don't think Cody's going to be involved. He didn't talk about it. He didn't seem to care about it. It was very much a Seth. He shouldn't. He should not care about it. He should want to be the champion of hold the title that he wanted originally, not the consolation prize. He shouldn't say so much as that, but just ignoring it is good enough for me, in case of like not trying to downplay the new title, but still make it relevant for the television show it winds up on.
Oh, I agree. I don't think Cody should be the first champion. I know people in the chat are kind of saying, well, and there was a lot of discussion about that when the title was introduced. I don't think Cody should win that title. It should not be about like, hey, we just kind of created just so Cody can have it, because his goal has been the WWE title. Why does he care about this one? It was my point. I said, like, why does he care about the Universal title? He rarely mentioned it. He has no attachment to these titles. Like, they're good, they're fine, but the story for him has been the WWE Championship. I think Seth makes the most sense when it comes to the first champion with this, but kind of the same thing for him is like Seth cares and should care about beating Roman more than this title. Like, that is sort of Seth's story, Seth's end game, not so much this title. I know Seth wants to be like the workhorse and he wants to go out there and he wants to be a fighting champion, but this title doesn't feel like it's part of his story, even though he does make a lot of sense to win it. Just put the belt on Omos. Just give him the title.
Yes, you see it now.
I'm fine with it, sure.
I mean, listen, you could put it on Dominic Mysterio.
Look, that's the best heel in the business right there. So they should go with that. They should go with old Dom. Dom and Rhea with their 2 titles and everything. Yeah, that's what I'm all about this.
I'm still, there's one Roman Reigns match, feud, whatever you want to call it, that I'm still waiting on. And that's his match impending with Sheamus. They didn't do this iteration. They haven't rekindled that feud. They haven't done a world title match between Sheamus and Roman Reigns. And now the alignment is different. You have the bloodline, you have the Brawling Brutes. Like there is potential for a story there. And they were kind of like teasing it at one point, and then they changed to the Drew stuff, and everything kind of got tossed on its head. But Sheamus is someone that I continue to go back to. It's like, when are you getting there? Because it feels like the Nakamura title match that never was. It feels like we're slowly getting back to that point. But what if you don't do a Sheamus match versus Roman? And we haven't seen how the SmackDown wrestlers currently on the SmackDown brand, we haven't seen how they reacted to the new title. Obviously, a lot of them want it, but what if Sheamus is the first champion?
I'm okay with Sheamus being the first. He's got to win that Intercontinental title, though. I think, and I think the end game for Sheamus seems more like the Intercontinental title. This title just feels weak. Of like there are a lot of just like great wrestlers. There are a lot of good stories to potentially tell, and then just throwing this title in there. I don't know why some of these wrestlers like a Sheamus is like, okay, sure, you want to be like the World Heavyweight Champion. It's on paper, it sounds great, but like there's no lineage to this title. It's just, here's a title. So Sheamus' story is, to me, like he wants the Intercontinental title. Seth's story to me is he wants to beat Roman Reigns. That's why like somebody like Omos is like, yeah, sure. What's his story? Omos just loses a bunch of matches. Why wouldn't he want to be like World Heavyweight Champion? There's no bigger heavyweight than Omos. So sure, why wouldn't he want that? Like Xavier Woods wants just like a singles title. Xavier Woods would be great with this belt, by the way. Like Xavier Woods just wants a singles title. It does like the Intercontinental title make a little bit more sense? Yes. But put this title on Xavier Woods, like singles champion, Xavier Woods. I'm all about that. But some of these guys, like the names you're throwing out is like, their story to me is not just, here's this title that was just introduced. Now I want this belt. Why?
So I'm going to throw out one more name.
Okay.
And I mentioned this on Twitter last night. They spend a lot of time, and this doesn't work because of how they're trying to position the title, but the way they were talking about Brock Lesnar last night.
Yeah.
They kept talking about championship accolades like it was the most important thing he's ever done is winning world titles on various platforms. And if you want to kick off that championship, Brock Lesnar is a pretty big name to have, holding it. Unfortunately, it completely undermines the reason for the titles, for creating the title in the first place. All of a sudden, part-time Brock is going to be the champion. He ain't showing up to work every Monday or Friday, whichever one he's on. It would just be, we'd be back to square one. That's all it would be. But they kept bringing it up. So maybe there's a possibility that Brock loses in the final to whoever he faces. Could be, let's say it's Seth. Let's say it's, I don't know who it could be. A lot of people talking about Seth. I get it. After Monday, he was the most like front runner of front runners for that title. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. But it could very well be Brock in the final versus whoever's going to win that championship.
I've seen the Brock talk, and that was the joke of like, oh, it's going to be somebody who's going to show up. Let's put it on Brock. He's going to show up, right? It makes sense.
For all we know, he's going to sign a new deal where suddenly he is going to show up. We don't know this. So like it's entirely possible that he wins the title and then a report comes out saying Brock Lesnar signed on and he's going to have a 6-month run where he's full-time and this is it for him. We don't know that. So I'm just throwing that out there. Sorry, continue.
No, I like Brock makes sense if you want to like sort of make an impact of like, oh, who's your first champion? Brock Lesnar. Okay. Like Brock is Brock, right? He's untouchable at this point. So it makes sense from that. Yeah, it completely goes against look, Brock, if he signs a new deal, it ain't to show up for more dates. Okay. We know this man literally showed up the other week dressed in his trench coat and his cowboy hat, stood on the ramp, and then walked away after 2 seconds. He ain't showing up to work matches on Raw or anything like that. He was booked to work a match on Raw, and instead of working the match, just attacked his partner. He ain't showing up to work these matches. So if he signs a new deal, it ain't to do more work. Yeah, but Brock makes sense. It does go against like, oh, the workhorse type of thing. But if you want to make like an immediate impact, Brock is definitely there. Do we think they're actually going to stick with, hey, we're going to make an impact with this thing? Do we think that's going to happen?
I mean, I should hope so. Again, unless they pull the Saudi Arabia deal where it's like, hey, we awarded this title in Saudi and now it's not going to ever be seen again. LOL. Bye. You know, that's the only other thing I could see. But we only have one example to go on when it comes to a championship being unveiled for Saudi Arabia. And that was the Greatest Royal Rumble trophy. But anyway, there's going to be a lot more of this talk to come on. I know this much. Joining us very shortly is the one and only Sam Adonis. Very excited for this conversation. Sam is actually going to be competing in Toronto this coming Thursday, April 27th. That's tomorrow if you're watching us live. Against whom? I don't know. Maybe we can get that out of him because I know Demand Lucha, who are running the show in Toronto at Parkdale Hall. I don't think they've announced an opponent yet, but you know what? I think he's here. And if he's ready, he can give me a thumbs up and we can get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, the AAA Rey de Reyes champion and our number one babyface in all of our hearts, it's Sam Adonis. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you two this afternoon or morning or whatever it is, whatever time of the day it is where you are?
Doing all right.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for being here.
I'm just recuperating from a very long weekend. I had 4 days in the West Coast, and then I'm home here for about 12 more hours. Then I head up to Toronto. And I'm back in Mexico this Saturday, so it's a crazy, crazy busy schedule these days, but it's where we always want to be, you know?
Yeah, that's a wild grouping of dates to be doing. You're a road warrior right now. What's like the must-have, must-do when you're on the road or when you're preparing to go out for a long stint like that?
Just be prepared. Honestly, I have my my satchel, if you will, my man purse, and I have to have everything with me at all times. That's the thing that I've learned, you know, to be prepared with everything. Now, honestly, more than ever, I like downtime. I really enjoy just being in the hotel room by myself. You know, I never thought I'd get to that point because, you know, as a young wrestler, you have to travel and see all these cities and just say, hey, let's go eat here, let's do that. You know, I've had a really, really fun career. I've been all over the world. And now I'm just so busy that I'm like, you know what? Hey, you're picking me up at 6. Okay, I'll see you then. And I just shut the door and turn everybody off for a while.
Jeremy?
I mean, that is the way to do it. It's good to be prepared. All right, man purse. Do you so you have the man purse? Do you have the fanny pack? That is the old school wrestler thing. Do you have the fanny pack?
I started off with a fanny pack. I was a fanny pack guy for my 4 years in England. Right after I got released from WWE, I went to England for 4 years. And yeah, I was definitely a fanny packer, but I think, you know, evolution of man bags, you know, they're a little bit better now and there's more pockets and more spaces for everything. You can have your USB plugged into your phone while in your bag. So it's a little bit more practical. And yeah, it's definitely, it's big. It's a little bit bigger. I've seen plenty of these guys have the fanny packs that are the size of a backpack around their waist. And I think that looks kind of ridiculous. So I'd rather have one over my shoulder when I'm going around. So it works perfectly for me right now.
Before anyone points this out, the concept of you saying, I went to the UK for 4 years and I wore a fanny packer, or I was a fanny packer, is definitely...
Yeah, they don't say that there. It's a bum bag. Bum bag is used in the UK. I forgot about that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'll point this out in the chat. a fanny packer in England means something else.
Yes. I will remain. I will say nothing on the matter there. I wore a bum bag daily.
So this is your third trip to Toronto coming up. Am I right? Your third time doing Demand Lucha?
It's my third time ever in Canada, which is funny.
Wow.
It's really unique because I grew up in Pittsburgh. I started wrestling in Pittsburgh. Most of my independent dates, 14 years ago, were in the Northeast. And literally, a wrestler in our area's first international match would be of Canada. But when I was 21, I signed a WWE contract. So I got shipped down to Florida, and then everything else happened after that. So Canada was kind of like a box left unticked until recently. And, Demand Lucha, they've been putting on these killer shows, some of the best independent talent, as well as the best luchadors in Mexico. And then, once the guys realize that, oh my gosh, one of AAA's top heels is 4 hours away, let's make this happen. So it's worked out quite well, and I had a really good time. And it's amazing. I feel like I've missed out on so much because night one in Toronto, you can tell that it's a great wrestling city. The fans, they've been not spoiled, but they've been lucky enough to have great wrestling for 50 years and a variety of great wrestling. So they know what they like and they know what good is. And that just makes it all more special.
Yeah, wrestling in Toronto or being a wrestling fan in Toronto is a very strange situation because we are spoiled in a lot of ways. But when great talent comes through or, passionate promotions build up, you can see the groundswell. And I think, Demand's one of those promotions that's been building over time. So I think it's really neat that you have been coming out here and doing some work with Demand. I hope there's more in the cards.
Yeah, I have a lot more dates with them coming up while I'm here, so it kind of works out well. The fact that they run Thursdays almost makes it, you can guarantee I'll be there. Right now, I have my main priority is with Lucha Libre AAA, but then my second main priority is with MLW. So those two have, first and second refusal on every date I have. So a lot of times, I can have a date agreed with for, 8 or 10 weeks. Then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before, AAA decides, hey, we're doing a TV show on this day. I have to pull out, which is, it's unfortunate, and I don't like it because I like to give a promoter my word. But at the same time, most of the people I work with, they do understand, and that's kind of where we are as a wrestling climate these days. So it's a good problem to have.
When it comes to the refusal thing, so do you have to check in with them beforehand, or if you book a date and then they're like, hey, we're doing this, you just gotta cut that out?
Exactly. So AAA, and this is, with all due respect, and this is a lot of, just the way of the culture south of the border, a lot of things don't work quite the same as they do here. It's a little bit more just kind of, come as it goes kind of thing. And honestly, I can have a date sheet of 24 dates, and I'll avoid all 24 of those dates. Out of those 24 they give me, maybe 16 of them actually occur, and then the other, 8 dates will be completely moved around and different. So it's kind of like the date sheet was obsolete from the start. And a lot of times just out of nowhere, you can know, okay, hey, it happened to me a few weeks ago. I was supposed to wrestle Eddie Kingston in Chicago, actually Michigan. And about 10 days before the date, they said, hey, Sam, by the way, if you're doing this date on this, I'm booked that day. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, the promoter wanted you. So it kind of is what it is. But like I said, most wrestling promoters now, especially on a bigger level where you're working with the international talent and stuff, you understand it. We're all kind of happy to work together and make things work out. I hate pulling off of shows, but, usually if there's some way I can make it up to them or, get a different date later on down the line, that's the risk you take knowing that you're getting some of these international talents, because at the end of the day, we do have commitments to the people that are making us who we are.
You're teaming with Psycho Clown, who a legend in AAA and just in Lucha in general. What is it like just teaming with that man?
So honestly, and I was a bit confused when you guys said we were going to talk about being a babyface, because honestly, I'm not a babyface in Mexico. That's satire. That is sarcasm on all my pages.
So is our entire channel, Sam.
Okay. Fair enough. So right now, for the last 2 years, I've been in a strong rivalry with Psycho Clown. I don't know if you guys keep up with AAA TV, but it's been building and building and building. And I know the American wrestling fans like to talk about long-term storytelling, but this is about as long-term storytelling as it's gotten. So this year, Triple Mania is broadcast across 3 events, and the main stipulation that's attached to the product as a whole, as the tour, is the Guerra de Rivalidades, which means the War of the Rivals, which is it's kind of like a battle bowl type situation where your tag partner is your rival. So, we've had to work together as a team and try to avoid the losses. So the loser advances. And the last 2 teams in the tournament will end up facing off in a one-on-one hair versus hair, or a mask versus mask, or a mask versus hair match. So I don't know what's going to happen quite yet. I know that things are heating up. We were this past Saturday night in Tijuana, and without question, it was probably the coolest in-ring experience I've ever had. I'm a big fan of 80s and 70s wrestling. I like the old stuff where the fans were just coming unglued. There's still a lot of that in Mexico. And this past Saturday night, it was hot. We were in the middle of that ring and fighting and beating the hell out of each other. And that room was closing in on us. And I just remember being in the moment like, oh my God, this is amazing. Wrestling doesn't have this feeling anymore. And I'm pretty proud of that myself. I think it kind of, it shows you the value of AAA to the Mexican consumers, and the value of Psycho Clown, because he is, as the only way you can really describe him to a non-wrestling fan would be John Cena. And that's, a really, really big accolade, but it's as true as it gets.
Yeah, you mentioned just now the different receptions that you get wrestling in different parts of the world. Is Mexico being different from everyone? Where else in the world is wrestling like that special that you've experienced?
So me personally, one place I really enjoyed working was Germany, a place called EWP in Hanover, Germany. And they did the old 70s style, like catch wrestling. They had a round system. It was a little bit different, and most of that crowd was an older market. So it was a little bit more nostalgic, but the crowd, they enjoyed it. Also, I did 4 tours with All Japan, and the same thing. Those fans that come to All Japan today are the same guys who've been going since 1985 to watch Jumbo Tsuruta and Giant Baba. So a lot of those fans that kind of, they don't really, there wasn't really the turnover like the American fans have. America has always kind of developed each generation. Certain kids love Cena but have no idea who Hulk Hogan is. Certain promotions kind of keep their lineage as part of their production and their storytelling. Mexico, however, it's just it's a little bit deeper than all of them because it's such a major part of the culture, and it's hard to explain. It's almost like a sport. Each little town you go to has a lucha gym. You might not necessarily like wrestling or like lucha, but you might start training in lucha because it's the same way that you might jump into CrossFit, or you might start doing cycling. It's just something to do, activity, something to keep you busy. And I think overall, they see it much more as a way to make money, as an opportunity to basically like a trade or a skill, as opposed to doing it as a hobby. And I think, that's kind of where American wrestling and wrestling all over the world has become. Most people that get into it as a hobby, and they just want to do it for themselves and self-gratification. And it continues to grow in a way that, oh, I can make money doing this? Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. And it's almost like a blissful ignorance is costing people money. That some wrestlers could be getting paid so much more, but there's other wrestlers accepting so much less. So it throws off the balance. And down in Mexico, it's such a big business that, you really look at it through different lenses when you're thinking, how do I make the most money with this sport? Instead of, what move do I want to do today? What color should I wear this afternoon? So it's very, I can write a whole book on the differences, but that's another podcast entirely. But it's just, Mexico definitely has much more of a passion, and it's ingrained in somebody's heart, because those nights out to the lucha shows might not necessarily be for the to go see the show as much as it's, a night out with the family. And people might have been going for 40 years to the lucha every Sunday just because that's what the family does.
You were on a oh, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
I do want to ask about some of the misconceptions when it comes to Lucha Libre, because I don't know if the American audience does and I'm going to be full transparency here. I don't know if I fully understand it all the time, but it's gotten bigger and bigger in America thanks to different partnerships and stuff, and a lot of talk. This past week, we see Commander doing his rope stuff in the match with Jay White. You entered Battle Riot doing a rope walk there. Like, what are some misconceptions when it comes to just Lucha Libre that American fans like, hey, you don't understand this, but for us, like, all of this makes sense?
I think the number one would be that Lucha Libre is more acrobatic. I think there's an American or a North American perception of what Lucha Libre is based on what WCW presented in the 90s. And we think Lucha Libre is Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrero, La Parca, Psychosis. And that is a good portion of it. But at the end of the day, the biggest money drawing matches and the matches people want to see are the fights. So they want to see LA Park or La Parca against Rey Mysterio not flying around. They want to see straight up punches to the face and fighting through the chairs and just. So at the end of the day, the fight is still what sells. You look at guys like Psycho Clown. There's a lot of critics in the United States that say, oh, they tune into AAA and see Vikingo and Ray Phoenix and these guys and think, oh, that's AAA has the best wrestlers in Mexico. Why is Psycho Clown the main event guy? Oh my God, he's terrible. They don't get it, because if you're really down there and you understand that fight that's in Psycho Clown is much more valuable to any Mexican consumer than the actual high flying that any of those guys do. It's still dramatic. It's still all about that fight and that struggle. And that's why, for the last 30 years, yes, they've had the greatest acrobats and the best, high flyers in history, but a lot of the biggest stars have been Cibernetico, Psycho Clown, Sangre Chicana, Perro Aguayo, Conan himself. And, I think that's something that a lot of American fans need to break the grasp of. They need to understand and open their mind that just because we perceive Lucha Libre as high-flying, fast-paced wrestling doesn't mean that's what Lucha Libre actually is.
On a recent podcast, Wrestling Epicenter, you mentioned that indie wrestling is more lucrative than it's ever been. I want to ask, what do you think that's attributed to?
It's very different things. Depends on how you want to look at independent. It could either be more lucrative or less lucrative depending on how you handle it. I think we are in charge of creating our own brand now. We're able to get ourselves out there and be seen. And you need to understand what your value or what your worth is. Sometimes there's people that could be making a lot of money because they're seen on XYZ TV show. But if that person chooses to go wrestle for a small time local company and do a hardcore match for $150, they're cutting off their nose to spite their face. We're in control of the amount of money we can make. A lot of wrestlers now are so desperate to stay busy or to appear busy that they will take bookings that they shouldn't take. You should say, okay, this is how much money I need to make this month. Once you make that much money, you shouldn't need to be such, well, I'm off Friday night. I'm going to pick this up because it's only a 3-hour drive from my house. I think there's a lot of good wrestlers are getting bad independents credibility, and a lot of bad independents are taking away good wrestlers into credibility. And I think if there was a little bit more of a line in the sand where people are willing to take a weekend off and just say, you know what, hey, I'm off on Saturday. Cool. Yep. No, I had a good month. I don't need it. Then, I think everything would be a little bit more healthy. But I think at the end of the day, it's such a content hungry society where people want to put something up today and they want the instant gratification. They want to appear busy. They want the content for Instagram that, they don't realize that sometimes maybe they are cheapening themselves by doing shows that aren't exactly at the level.
I'm going to ask a question from our pal Ryan Sullivan here in the chat. What do you think of Nacho Libre?
I absolutely love that movie. It was like 12 when I came out. Saw it in the theater. I have nothing against it, man. Because a lot of people, there's still to this day, if I meet somebody and through passing, if they, oh, I'm a professional wrestler in Mexico. Oh yeah, like Nacho Libre. And I'm like, yep, that's it. Yeah, that's kind of what you go with, That's I'm of the opinion that as wrestlers, we should always be thinking outside the box and trying to get new viewers, not necessarily cater to the million fans we already have, Let's try to get 2 million fans. Let's invite new people, show people that don't understand wrestling what is good about wrestling. So, I think if there's any way you can convince people that, explain something that you do in layman's terms, it's always a positive situation. And as far as what I do, yes, I do Nacho Libre.
As we start to wrap up here, and thank you for your time, by the way, I want to ask, on your socials, you mentioned that "To Be With You" by Mr. Big is a song that still hits hard with you, and that you're a big Paul Gilbert fan. I'm a big Mr. Big fan. What is it about the song? What is it about the song? And we'll catch it up after. Go ahead.
I would say just the fact that it was like the right place and the right time. I was probably like 2 or 3 years old when that song came out. And that was one of those like awesome songs that I loved growing up. Like 80s hair metal was my stuff. And that was like a ballad. It was a song that, like, I want to say that was one of the first songs I knew every word to. Just kind of sentimental. And then in high school, it was my ringback tone. So everybody that called me, as soon as I picked up the phone, oh, I love that song. Everybody, oh man, I haven't heard that song in years. I love that song. So that's kind of cool. But like I said, Paul Gilbert's from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, or Latrobe, Pennsylvania, which is about 40 minutes from where I grew up. So he's kind of a hometown boy, and it's just one of my jams.
You listened to 1992 from the album they released afterwards?
I don't know about that. I probably have something on my Spotify playlist, but I can't. I'm not like an overall Mr. Big fan as much as I am a fan of that song.
Go listen to that particular song, 1992. It's literally about writing "To Be With You."
Oh man,
yes.
You might have to tell me something I need to know.
And like the ascent of the band after they wrote that song. But that's a great song. I love "To Be With You." It's one of my favorite ones to play when I was gigging. So that's cool. That's
well,
cool.
I did a lot of concert security. So when I turned 18, my brother was doing concert security, and one night they needed a body, so they called me. First show I did was the G3 tour, which was Joe Satriani, Ingwe Malmsteen, and Paul Gilbert. And we did that, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting paid to this concert. And for the next 4 or 5 years, I was seeing gigs all over the place and just watching, Phil Anselmo's band Down was in Pittsburgh. He almost fell off the stage, so I had to like catch him and hold him up. And he got everyone to give me a round of applause for saving his ass, he said. So funny stories like that,
Yeah, having a guy like Phil Anselmo just get on the mic and be like, give it up for that guy over there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's my Pantera story.
Oh, wonderful. Sam, plug your stuff. You're going to be, I know, in Toronto for Luchapalooza for Demand Lucha on Thursday, April 27th. Go ahead. Give us all the rest.
Thursday, April 27th, Sam Adonis against Drago Kid. One-on-one lucha. Drago Kid's incredible. He does just stupidly crazy acrobatic stuff. So basically, he'll be a softball that I'm trying to swat out of the air all night. And you can find me at Real Sam Adonis on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Has all my dates coming up. I would say about 80% of my stuff right now is in Mexico. I really enjoy and appreciate those who know me from social media and have come to meet me at the rare American independent appearances I do. So please, if you can get a chance, come stop by. I always say I'm one of these guys you have to see in person to really get. There's plenty of, the online wrestling world, people watch their tapes and their gifs and everything like that. And some people say, well, what's the big deal about Sam Adonis? I see him, he was just a normal style wrestler. What's he do? You got to be there. And then once you're like, oh, that's what it is. And I think there's a lot of testimony about that from, wrestling fans across the country. So if you can, come check me out somewhere. If you can make this Thursday in Toronto, please do. And if not, just follow me on social media and hopefully get to meet a bunch of you soon enough.
Sam, thank you so much.
Sam. Yeah, we really appreciate you doing this. Thank you. Have a good day.
No worries, guys. You have a good one. Later.
Sam Adonis. It's great. Good get, Joel Pearl.
Well, I got to give credit, unfortunately, to the great Kate Elizabeth, who helped set this up. But I had noticed that Demand Lucha was running in Toronto on tomorrow, as of the recording, where on Thursday the 27th, and today is the 26th. It's Wednesday. But for those listening or watching later, the show is April 27th. Anyway, I noticed the running, and I was like, oh, Sam's coming. So let's see if maybe Sam's going to come and talk about Lucha and talk about working all around the world. And he's a fascinating guy.
He's fantastic. I love the stuff with England and the bum pack there. Different meaning over there. But I did like that. He's like, yeah, that is sarcasm when I say I'm a babyface. I was like, yes, we got you. We got you, Sam. We know a little bit about that.
A little bit. Yeah, Fightful wasn't really built on reality-based conversations.
How dare you? All we do is true journalism and nothing but facts and seriousness here at Fightful. We don't write headlines about tree sperm and penises.
Damn right, I have that on the ready.
Yes, we don't do any of that here at Fightful. All serious stuff.
Oh man, so we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be joined by Phil Lindsey very soon from Grapsody and a plethora of other places. But of course, if you're a Fightful person, you know Phil from Grapsody. We're going to be talking about the other Chicago Phil. There's a lot to unpack, Jeremy. I don't even know where to start because this is becoming a big will he, won't he at this point. About literally everything CM Punk related, it's will he or won't he. So I'm looking forward to Phil giving us his 2 cents.
Phil will be with us. Yeah, just at 11. I just sent him over everything, so should be joining us shortly. I do want to circle back quickly to the WWE title, World Heavyweight title conversation, because there's a lot to unpack there as well in introducing that title, and I want to continue to touch on that, but then also sort of split off and with the tag team titles, because we have the undisputed tag team titles. Do they introduce the World Heavyweight tag team titles so that way we make sure we have champions on the Raw brand and the Blue brand? Like, what are we doing? We know the titles are on the line on Friday, but you have an undisputed set of tag team titles. How are we going to split those now?
Honestly, you know how you could have made it so easy? I mean, it almost would have given it away if you said, let's do a 2 out of 3 falls match, or a first pin takes this title, second pin takes this title. Yeah, I see in the chat people are saying double pin. So my feeling is Sammy and KO are going to retain, because I don't think if you're going to do a mini tournament in Saudi Arabia to crown a new World Heavyweight Championship, guess what you don't need on the card? A tag team title match.
Yeah.
And for splitting, again, I don't know, maybe they'll have them roam from brand to brand, but you could have set that precedent with Roman Reigns too. It's a very strange situation that they're in. Even in the women's division, at one point there was talk about, do we combine the women's championships and make that a big thing? And if we do, then you're stuck to square one again. If your brand split is supposed to be a hard split where it is how it is and nobody crosses over unless they get traded, you're in the same situation. So I don't know what to expect with Sammy and KO, other than I expect Sammy and KO to retain. Maybe Backlash are already doing a 6-man tag, so they're probably not going to change that. I don't know what they do going into the draft. I don't know what they do coming out of it and out of Saudi, other than they'll still be tag champs.
They just have to hand them over.
That's a possibility, and I'm afraid of them doing that because they've already undermined so many titles by doing that before. Granted, we all got over it, but we still talk about it to this day. It's a little stupid at this point to do it again.
It's the most cowardly thing that they can do. I think handing it over is it. Just, hey, you got your big moment at WrestleMania. Hey, you defended them on SmackDown. You've read the Usos from the tag team division. They can no longer get a title shot. I don't think that's a stipulation, but they would have lost twice in this scenario. Good job. Now, which ones do you care less about? Hand them over so they can be on the other brand. What if they get split in the draft? What if SmackDown drafts Sami Zayn and Raw drafts Kevin Owens, and then Owens takes the Raw titles with him, Sami takes the SmackDown titles with him, and they got to find new partners? What about that? That's my suggestion.
Somebody posited the idea of you split up the Usos and Sami and KO, and that's what happens. They each take a set of tag titles, and then they each take an Uso, and suddenly like KO and Jimmy are a team, and Sami and Jay are a team. And I sat there, I'm like, this is so dumb. I want to see it happen now. But listen, it's a possibility. Probably not going to happen. I'd be shocked.
How dare you?
I would be shocked. I don't know what they're doing with tag teams, because they keep telling us they're going to break up tag teams. It's like, well, how do you have a tag division if you're going to break up tag teams and you don't have tag teams declaring for the draft as a tag team?
you just make new tag teams. None of these tag teams, it's like the women's division. None of these tag teams are real. You just make them up as they go. Points don't matter.
It's true. That's very much the women's tag division. It's it just, nothing makes sense. Your wife is sending me messages now about.
She's very angry.
She does not like this at all. You know it's serious when I get the messages and not you.
I'm getting them as well. I just no sell them. So she had to go to you. Yeah, she's very angry about this.
Granted, I understand why. It's again, they had Monday to clean it up and explain what the draft situation could look like, but they didn't do anything really.
They have no idea.
They do not have any idea.
No idea what the draft is going to be. I hope they put out these superstars are eligible on SmackDown for the draft on SmackDown, and they put out the list and it's in order of the draft picks again. And they did that a few years ago. It was the funniest thing ever. They put out the eligibility list and it was legitimately in order of what the picks were. And then midway through, they're like, oh, they figured out, they realized their mistake. They're like, oh, we got to switch up some of these picks now because otherwise we've just spoiled our entire picks. So I hope they do that again. It's fantastic.
I remember watching that and after pick number 3 being like, wait a minute. Does that mean the next pick is so-and-so? Was that the 2017 draft? I forget what year it was, but it was one of those years where we were just not interested, but it happened. This draft is such a just like the Raw after Mania. Everything has such potential until it happens and everything goes downhill because someone gets in the weeds.
This is why you don't get your hopes up about this stuff. Just think of the dumbest scenario possible, and then if it isn't that, you're happy. Because you were thinking of, oh, they're just going to draft Sammy to one brand, Kevin to the other brand. If it's not that, we've made progress already. Ryan says realistically, one brand drafts Sammy and Kevin, and then the other brand just gets the vacant belt. That makes sense. All right, sure, Raw drafts Sammy and Kevin, and then they're just basically forced to take the titles from them. Well, SmackDown needs tag team titles. It's not the greatest idea in the world because I don't think that it should. I think whenever a champion loses, you want it to mean something. You never just want to take titles, swap titles, drop titles, anything like that. I always think if you're gonna have somebody lose, get the belt off of them, lose the friggin' match. That's how it should happen. But okay, they're on Raw. We need SmackDown titles. Yank, give me these SmackDown titles, and now we'll crown new champions at a tournament of Night of Champions.
Or they do something really ridiculous around the tag team title match they're having this week, where one of them, the match ends, whoever wins, and then they go right to the draft, and we find out Sammy and KO drafted to Raw, and then you see the Usos just be like, well, guess these are ours now, and they take the blue belts, and that's it. And then Sammy and KO are just like, we don't work Fridays anymore. Sure, it's all yours, pal. I don't know how you do it. I also don't like the idea of and again, Ryan's realistic idea is very much realistic, but at the same time, what's it going to be? It's going to be they get drafted, Sammy and KO get drafted to Monday Night Raw. Okay, you go shot of the back, and it's KO and Sammy standing there, and in walks Adam Pearce, and he's like, you know what you have to do, and they're like, fine, and they give him the blue belts, and they're just like, thank you for your service, and that's it. And then Adam Pearce walks out. And then on SmackDown, they start another tournament that also ends at Night of Champions, and the Usos win the tag titles at Night of Champions, or some ridiculous stuff like that.
Adam Pearce doesn't have any authority. Who cares what he thinks?
Vince McMahon walks into the room with Sammy and KO and says, give me the blue belts. And then Sammy's just like, what? KO's just like, he said give him the blue belts. And Sammy's like, why? And then it's just a weird, it turns on to who's on first for a good solid 20 minutes. I don't know what they're going to do. Nobody knows what they're going to do. That's what Friday.
They don't know what they're going to do. They have no idea what they're going to do on Friday. They're still just trying to figure figure all of this out, and it'll be fun to watch it. Let it play out, Joel. Just let it play out. It'll be great.
Well, soon enough, Phil Lindsey's going to play out CM Punk's status in wrestling with us because he'll be joining us very shortly. What a weird story, man. It's getting weirder and weirder. And I think I'm curious, chat, just chime in. Are you sick of the CM Punk news yet? Are you
bored? Hate this, Joel. I know you
very tired of it personally. I am.
You hate it.
I am, because you know what? You can't tell people I don't want to be part of the media circus and then immediately insert yourself into the media circus. Can't do it that way.
He's not looking for this attention.
Stop
Joel.
it. Stop it, Jeremy. Stop it.
What?
Stop. You can't. Okay.
The man can't live his life. He's not allowed to live his life.
On Monday Night Raw, when he's working for what is effectively the competition,
he's just visiting.
No, he's not, because you know what? There's a certain expectation when someone like CM Punk, who left the WWE so unceremoniously, just suddenly showing up and being like, "Hey, how you doing?" Also, like, okay, I see two sides to the story on this. One is, yeah, sure, Punk is like, I'm getting older, more ahead of me than behind me, or more ahead of me than behind me, whatever you want to say, or more behind me than ahead of me. Yeah, that's the word. He's getting older, and he's like, my career is winding down, but I want to have one last go in WWE, or I don't want any enemies. I'm going to make amends, blah, blah, blah. Funny, I'm going to go make amends with people who I don't work for than the ones that I do work for, but that's not important right now. I'm going to go to Monday Night Raw because I was on a plane with a bunch of people and we all had fun and we all had a good laugh, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to go to Allstate. I'm going to go say hi. I'm going to go see if I can stick around. Who knows? Maybe they'll welcome me back with open arms because I'm everyone's pal. And I'm not going to tell them that I'm coming because I don't want the circus of WWE documentary crews or WWE feature people suddenly showing up with cameras in my face as I arrive. I would understand that if that's CM Punk's like reality of why he didn't tell anybody that he was coming to Raw. I also don't think that that's the case, and I think Punk was just starting to stir shit for the sake of stirring shit, because whenever we get to put CM Punk on a thumbnail, well, guess what? People are going to watch and want to talk about it, because the man, for better or worse, is the plus delta of professional wrestling, as Tony Khan once said in a press scrum. And again, our Fightful Select stuff blows up whenever CM Punk shows up. So again, from a financial standpoint, I fully understand why this is good and important, but it's also frustrating as hell because you just see him be like, I don't want to be in the media conversation. And then he immediately inserts himself in the media conversation. He inserted himself in this one, Jeremy. There's no other way to explain it. He showed up. He on the show, or not on the show. He showed up. Great. That would have been great. Tom's Custom had a really great photo of him in his gear, Photoshop next to the title. Yeah. I was going to use that for the thumbnail, but then I was like, and then we got Sam, and I had to change everything. But anyway, the point was, he showed up to have conversations. And I know some people backstage said he looked like he was making amends or trying to have more productive conversations with people that maybe he had not so great interactions with on his way out, or even during his time away from wrestling. If he was speaking to Paul Levesque, then that's another opportunity that maybe he's, again, trying to make amends. Maybe this is a mea culpa tour. Who knows? He inserted himself in this. He could have had these conversations elsewhere. To do it at their job on a Monday in the afternoon, coming home from another event, not even like I just happened to be in Chicago. It's like, everything felt so weird. And also, again, I'm very interested in hearing how Tony Khan and the rest of the EVPs felt about this. If they were in on it, if they had any inkling that it was happening, if this was part of it, what's happening? Because, we're going to talk about this with Phil Lindsey very soon, but there were meetings that were just had with Punk and other people in AEW. And this is, this could be detrimental to something like this, or it could have been part of the plan from a meeting that they had. I don't know. It's very strange.
Isn't it WWE's fault for running in Chicago at this time?
Yes, they should have ran Wintrust instead. Punk would have stayed away from Wintrust.
That's the real issue here. Could he have had these meetings behind closed doors, jump on a Zoom call, something like that. Sure. But they were all in one spot here. Very easy to just, if you know where everybody's at one time, just go there instead of send the Zoom link to everyone. It's like, oh, hey, I got to send this link to Miz, Triple H, Tamina. He's talking to Tamina, all these people.
First of all, you go to a show, you always talk to Tamina. She is the mother figure of that show. If you didn't watch the WrestleMania behind the scenes doc, it's 8 minutes. She is plastered all over that thing, taking care of the Usos, taking care of Dakota Kai, taking care of everyone. She is mother backstage. Tamina will never not be right in my heart.
Everyone loves Tamina, which, I mean, they should, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's why you do talk to Tamina. You're right. If you want to make amends with people, go to the person who is well liked by everybody. That's CM Punk knows what he's doing. He's a smart man. He's a very smart man. But see, instead of sending the Zoom link to all these people, just like, oh, I know all these guys are going to be here at this spot at this time. I'm on a plane with them. Let me just go. Let me go hang out. Let me go show up.
Have the damn conversations on the plane.
Maybe the Miz wasn't on the plane. Maybe Triple H wasn't on that plane. That's who you want to talk to.
So I see in the chat someone saying like Punk also made amends with Miz. Why? Because you know what? For better or worse, Miz actually his name and he carries a lot of weight in wrestling. He's been a guy who has been in this business for over 15 years at this point, to the highest level, and he is the guy that is, looked at as ultimate workhorse. He'll do media for anybody at any time, anywhere. He will wrestle any match you want, any style. He very rarely says no. Just like Tamina, he is very likable and very well liked and very well respected backstage. And yeah, they had a very public incident a few years ago on Twitter about the whole Saudi Arabia deal. But again, you want to make amends with the people who are both powerful and can say something about you backstage. So if Miz is going to go to Paul and be like, maybe Phil's not so bad, then that's another option that you have.
You put in the thumbnail, I'm going to sell you out here, that this was a publicity stunt, ?
Yeah.
You don't think this was him like actually trying to, like, he has remorse for these things and he wants to, okay, if I'm gonna go back to AEW, because I think we all agree, maybe some don't, but he's heading back there sooner rather than later. It's like, hey, let me go out here and I'm gonna have to make amends there. Let me make amends here. Maybe he's working on himself, and this is not, hey, say I went there. Triple H likes me. The Miz likes me now. Why can't these elite guys like me? You really think it's a publicity stunt? I guess is what I'm asking.
I kind of do, because if this is, it could be a publicity stunt. It could also be a saving face stunt. It's like going on the campaign trail to the state where everyone hates you for one reason, and then doing the opposite of whatever that reason is that they hate you. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say you go to New York and you're like, I hate the public transit system. MTA is the worst. I want to shut down the subways in New York forever and ever and only be car based. And then the entire New York City and the state as a whole is just like, well, this guy's a dick. This is like our huge infrastructure, yada, yada. And then I show up and I ride the subway for a day talking to people and trying to get my name out there and be like, I'm not so bad. I actually like MTA. I like the subway. Well, there you go. I'm suddenly starting to save face in the eyes of these people. It almost feels like that's what Punk is doing. He's going to a WWE show 9 years later and being like, I wronged this guy and this guy and this guy. Should probably talk to them so that when the news gets out, suddenly I won't be as scary to my people at my home base that I've been trying to talk to and may have already spoken to, by the way. Again, this meeting may have already happened according to some people. And again, I'm waiting for Phil so we can talk about this.
We're about to bury Phil. He's going to have to make amends to us for being so late.
I should be used to it. But anyway, the point is, I do feel like it's a publicity stunt. And I do feel like this is just keeping your name relevant and in the news because you have a big show coming up with AEW. And, I see Ryan in the chat being like, TK loved WCW. It's some realism. For all we know, they're cooking this up together. And this is just a big, this is their version of Norfolk. This is their version of the DX invasion. They're trying to send Punk in, but they're trying to be more worky about it. Or sorry, more shooty about it. It's more backstage. Therefore, it's sexier. It's not on the TV and it's not hokey looking like it was back in 98, 99. This is different, or even 97. The idea here is that Punk is doing something so taboo because just showing up, let's say AEW and WWE run the same town or very close to each other. Let's say they're running UBS and they're running collisions at UBS, and then WWE is running a PLE at Madison Square Garden. They're a hop, skip, and a jump away from each other. So what do? You're going to have CM Punk show up at Madison Square Garden, knocking on the door during Collision.
Should.
Well, that's the thing. That's very hokey now. It doesn't work so much. So you send them in and you start having everyone else talk about it like we're doing right now so that it fuels the spin cycle.
Phil Lindsey is here to make amends for being 13 minutes late. And we're going to get his comments on CM Punk and everything going on backstage from Grapsody. You know him, you love him. Bleacher Report all over on the Twitter machine. Always making friends on Twitter. Phil Lindsey, how you doing, buddy?
I am not late. I just came in time to see you say that I am not late. And I'm not late because you told me 11 o'clock. And so I thought that I was, I thought that I was still waiting for your thing to start.
What? It's 11:13.
Oh, I love this.
I sent the StreamYard message at what time? 10:51.
Yeah, it's 10 my time.
Oh, Phil, you know it's Eastern. Are we doing this time zone thing again? Time zones. Did I not say Eastern? Look, if I did not say Eastern, I did say 11 tomorrow. I'm always thinking Eastern. All right, I'll take some blame for this, for not clarifying on time zone. I just had this conversation with Jack Cartwheel, who's going to be on the spotlight this week, and we got very confused on the time zones because he's in West Coast. And can the world just agree that we need one time zone? Can we just make this happen?
That sounds awful in every way, shape, and form.
Terrible. I don't want to make Phil mad because I really like Phil and afraid of what he'll do to me when we hang out again. Phil, how are you?
They do a 3-hour show. They can bury you for those 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sorry.
How you doing, Phil?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I was sitting here working on something, but it's all right.
Are you working on a CM Punk article?
No.
All right, Phil. What do you? Go ahead.
And I was about to say, I try not to write anything about Punk. I think we've exhausted a lot of man hours as wrestling media writing things about this guy, and I think at this point it's just I don't know, man. Just make the decision. If he's coming back, make the decision. It seems like the decision is made. People just want new news stories every week, but this decision is made. He's coming back.
Do you think, as Joel Pearl has put it, this is a publicity stunt on Punk's part to show up to Raw and make amends or whatever he was doing at Raw?
I think it's definitely a way to keep his name in public consciousness. I think it's his way of trying to win the perception war with the other guys that make it seem like he doesn't want to make amends with anybody. This is all very intentional. He's playing the game.
Wade Keller reported, or at least he believes, that Punk sat down with TK and I think FTR was there, maybe Jericho, on Friday. So again, Phil, I think you hit it on the head. This is a perception war. This is Punk keeping his name relevant. This is nothing but people using his likeness, despite him saying, keep me out of the media's eye, for clicks. Because let's face it, every time you put CM Punk's name on a thumbnail, people are going to be there. It's the same thing. Same thing happened with The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Jeremy Lambert. Same shit, different day. The only difference is The Fiend was a weird character. CM Punk
Fiend, he didn't show up to AEW backstage.
He could have. You don't know. The Fiend is very mysterious. But anyway, the point is, what at what point do you finally pull the trigger and say CM Punk is coming back? When does it make sense, Phil?
I think he'll be back in June. I think he'll be back before. I think he'll be back before All In. I think he'll be back before All Out.
Phil, do you have tickets to the mystery AEW show in Chicago? I know you were big repping on Chicago, and you were mad that it's taken this long for AEW to come back, and now they're back, and you've got the wrestling world mad at you that you've willed AEW back to Chicago. Did you have tickets? Are you ready to go? You ready for CM Punk back in Chicago, Phil?
I do not have tickets, but I'll probably be there. I'll probably get a ticket last minute.
What do you think of AEW doing a brand split when it comes to, and almost acquiescing to CM Punk when it comes to Collision?
I don't know if they're acquiescing to CM Punk. I think they're acquiescing to the fact that they want him there, but there are other people that may or may not want him there. I don't know if Punk necessarily wants to be on Saturdays. I think this is them attempting to make things work.
Do you think they have okay, sometimes you can work a Saturday, sometimes you work a Wednesday. It's been a soft brand split. Do you think that works if they kind of mix it up, but basically keep certain members of the roster separate, but it's not so hard of like, these people are only on Dynamite, these people are only on Collision?
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think that I don't really buy into it being a hard brand split. I don't buy into them actually, adhering to like rules of a brand split. This seems like let's try and see how this works for now. And I have no idea how it's going to work. You've got to do pay-per-views at some point, so people all have to be in the same building at some point. There are certain things that you're going to need everybody for, like Wembley. I don't know how this works.
Wembley's a massive stadium, so that's easy to cover. You just put Punk on the opposite side of the building, have him in his own little like Michael Cole coal mine, and I think you'll be okay. But I think you're right. At one point they will all have to be in the same building. To me, the split is more like the following people have requested not to work with the Elite. The following people have requested not to work with CM Punk. As a result, some of you will work Saturdays. Some of you will work some of you will work on a team on Saturday or Wednesday. Not one or it'll change from time to time. And then some of you will work A1 team or whatever they call it, B team. So sometimes it's going to be B teams on Dynamite this week. Next week they're on Collision, whatever it is. It just feels to me like it'll be a grouping of people, not the entire roster split, to make this whole thing work until inevitably Punk and the Elites either talk it out, figure it out, or don't and have another explosion and then we're back to square one.
I mean, if everything Punk has done and this whole brand idea is meant to do anything, it may or may not unintentionally make this entire situation look ridiculous. And it may make it seem like, hey, how about you 4 grown men get in a room and talk?
Back in the day, that's what you would do. You get into a fight, you get put into a room, you talk it out. I said to Jeremy, you get a bottle of something and you talk about it. These guys aren't drinking. That's fine. I'm not advocating you got to get drunk to talk it out.
Pepsi.
That's true. You get a Pepsi. Sure, whatever. Start a fight over a Diet Pepsi. I'd like to see it. The point here that you do have to sit down and talk it out.
Yeah, it's if this says anything about the state of the company, like I said, this all just looks ridiculous. It looks ridiculous that these guys won't just sit down and talk. And again, I understand the Young Bucks' point of view to a degree, because they were one of them was injured here, so I get it. I get you not wanting to have to deal with this guy until you're ready to deal with him. But at the same time, your boss clearly wants to do business with this guy. And I don't think that I'm assuming that. I think that that's pretty obvious. So at some point, you're going to have a conversation with this guy. Your name is on the company that he is going to be wrestling for. You're an executive vice president for this company. You're not just a wrestler. You can't just avoid this guy forever.
Yeah.
Do you think they should get Kendall Jenner with a Pepsi to fix everything here, Phil? Because I heard that solves everything.
I think that maybe Kendall coming in and having a Pepsi would give Punk something else to be mad about, and so maybe, I don't know, maybe Punk should just go and buy the Bucks all like Wendy's or In-N-Out, and like then maybe they come in and talk to him. I don't know.
Get him In-N-Out for life, and I'm sure they'll forgive him.
And I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting all the blame on the Bucks here, but it just, everything about this just seems ridiculous at this point. It's been what, 7 months, 8 months. Just all seems ridiculous.
AT hit us with a super chat saying, I haven't read or seen any reports saying that people don't want to work with the Elite. I haven't read anything like that either, but I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility that some people are going to say, well, I want to work on a show exclusively with Punk because his advice is invaluable to me. I don't know. There have been reports back in the day when Punk was first with the company that, people felt like he was giving really good advice. Do you see a world where Punk maybe works his way into a coaching role, or is it just kind of like he's there, he wants to be a locker room leader? Like, what's his spot now if he comes back into this fray?
I don't know, man, because it definitely seems like there are more people other than the Elite that are upset with him and don't want him there. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to make it seem like anybody doesn't want to work with the Elite, because we haven't heard that. We have heard inclinations that people don't want to work with Punk. So I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. But at this point, people are going to feel how they want to feel about it. That's not going to change. But one guy makes the decision, and it seems like this guy is hell-bent on making a decision to bring this guy back. So I don't know.
Would you bring back CM Punk? Like, if you're Tony Khan and everything that has happened, would you bring CM Punk back?
If I had to step in his shoes, I would ask you the question this. If one of the biggest stars to help build this company with you left last year, when had a WrestleMania moment, then won the Royal Rumble, then had the biggest match of his career at WrestleMania this year, and you're looking around like, hey, we let this guy go. Are you going to let CM Punk go? The answer is no. The answer is a very obvious no. And if I'm in his shoes, no, I'm not letting this guy leave and possibly go somewhere else and bury us.
I mean, listen, you had Punk show up backstage at a WWE event where he very much could have just done the same to his former peers, or at least his current peers. He's still, he still considers himself a wrestler. You could still do that, and it could still turn into that, because when Punk's done with his contract in AEW, if he and Paul Levesque had a nice little conversation, who knows? Maybe there is a return in the cards. Maybe there's a Hall of Fame induction. Maybe there is a Legends deal, and Punk then just talks about it.
Because, I mean, look, maybe you can get into, because the guy's under contract, from what I remember. It's a 5-year contract, I think. I think he's done, maybe a year and a half of that contract. You still got this guy on for over 4 years, close to 4 years of contract. You got to pay him. And he's the type of guy that's not just going to leave and let that go. You got to pay him. And is it worth getting in court and fighting this guy because he wants to be paid, or he's not going to want to deal with a non-compete clause? No, I don't think it is. Maybe it's just me, but I think it is. I think it is more beneficial to bring this guy back and attempt to salvage this and make some money off of it than waste money and time trying to fight this in court.
I believe it was a 3-year deal for Punk. That was the report, that it was a 3-year deal. So assuming they don't add time due to injury or anything like that, I guess that would put it up next year. If my timelines are very bad, but that would put it up next year if it is a 3-year deal. So they could get out of it a little bit sooner if they want to get out of it. If Punk wants to get out of it, it could potentially leave next year again if they don't have time.
Yeah. See, I don't know if it's 3 years, because I think if it was 3 years, I don't think there would be the hubbub about this. I think part of the reason why he's coming back is because they've got this guy on for a considerable amount of time. Is my guess, and I could be wrong.
I'm trying to get the exact report of where it is for 3 years. And I mean, it came from there's one report that has it listed to, it seemed like, the Observer. Another report is it listed to Fight Fans. So I don't know how Observer is what it is, and Fight Fans, I don't know how reputable that one is, but that's where I'm getting that from. But hey, look, if it's more than 3 years, then yeah, I can understand them just being like, hey, yeah, let's actually try to get the most out of this instead of paying them out for the last 2 years, 2.5 years on it.
You're either going to have to cash out and buy out his contract, or you're going to have to try and fight this guy on this, and I don't think they want to do either. That negotiation on the buyout is, I think, at a point when there was word that he may get fired, but doesn't seem like that's happening anymore. Doesn't seem like he wants to leave. I think that was the funniest thing about Monday night, is watching people go, oh, he's there trying to look for a contract. No, he's not. He's signed under contract. He's not going anywhere.
I kind of put it out there with Punk that how did I put this? Now I'm my train of thought is suddenly lost. Punk showing up on WWE, showing up at Monday Night Raw unannounced, was almost Punk being like, if I show up sneakily, the cameras won't find me and suddenly set up and get me. Do you think there's any truth to that? Because Punk sometimes can be a little in his own head, and that the idea was like, oh, maybe WWE Network won't or the documentary guys won't show up around the corner with a big camera in my face. Any truth? Do you think there's any truth to that, or you think I'm just kind of absolutely bonkers for it?
I don't know what to make of it. I don't think that there's any way that Punk showing up to Raw in Chicago is not a big deal, and I think he has to know that. There's no way he shows up there and people don't find out about it and it's not a big story. There's no scenario where that's not happening. And again, I think that's what makes it so funny, that people think that would be the way he would go back there and try and get a contract in this big, very public way. No, if he wanted a contract, it would be a phone conversation that we would know about, that we would never hear about.
Yeah. You hear nothing else from me on that. I agree with you on that.
I mean, it's not like he was hidden or anything. He was clearly,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There. Yeah. They weren't trying to make this a secret, and I think, I think that Punk probably knew that WWE cameras probably just weren't gonna shoot him. I don't think it was an idea of, hey, let me make a big announcement so that way I'm filmed and stuff. Probably just figured I'll show up, and then that's what it is. I don't think. Why would WWE film this content anyway? Oh, CM Punk's going to show up. We're going to put this on our website and stuff.
You got to document everything. Because if he comes back, then this is the moment that it started. Just like the Undertaker docs, right? It was back in. It started.
Somebody's got documents of it somewhere. It might not be official WWE camera
footage. Yeah, I can't wait till whatever. Bianca Belair's next 24, and he's in the background somewhere with his face blurred.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what WWE does. Their cameras are constantly rolling. How many times have you heard stories about back when Vince was in charge, and I'm sure it's still like this to this day, cameras literally everywhere, because you never know what footage they're going to want to pull for a network special or some sort of documentary special that they're working on. It's a thing. That's something they do. Sometimes it's for insurance purposes too. Let's face it.
Punk now with somebody mentioned the Endeavor buying back. I don't think Punk is going back to WWE. And the Vince McMahon thing is sort of the sticking point here. Is he seemed to have a conversation with Triple H. That was a brief conversation, albeit seemed to again make amends by everything. But based on the reports, it was Vince got word of this guy and it was like, get him out of there type of thing. And I don't think there's a scenario where Punk's going back if Vince is still there. And I think that's where people are also confused about things.
What if that wasn't a Vince call, though? What if that was a Paul call, and the idea of like CM Punk being like, hey, mind if I stick around for the show? Paul being like, give me a sec, let me find out. And then he just goes, calls his dad, and daddy says, well, you know what? Tell him it was me, but what do you think? And Paul's like, well, I don't want him here any more than you want him here. And I was like, I'll take the heat. I don't give a shit. And it's easily just that. Vince doesn't care. Vince would be scapegoat for literally anything to make Paul look good in the eyes of everyone else he works with.
No, he wouldn't. Vince would not scapegoat like that. Go ahead.
Yes, he would. Vince is at the point where he has said this multiple times. If you think I'm an asshole, well, then I guess I'm an asshole.
He'll throw Triple H on the bus.
I don't know. I don't know if he'd take the scapegoat, but I could definitely see Triple H like walking around the corner and like fake dialing on the phone, like, yeah, I'm gonna call Vince, and then turn around like, nope. Dad said you can't spend the night. Sorry.
You said we were gonna order popcorn and have a good movie night. Yeah. Anyway, Kaden with the super chat saying, do y'all think Punk would be upset being on Saturdays? People are already saying the show is doomed to Rampage numbers, but I could see it doing well. So the Collision show being on Saturdays has been a bit of a hot button topic. You have a few months where if you're going to talk about ratings, there are going to be no sports in the way, at least for the summertime. And then once you get into the fall and winter, when you start with the NBA, you start with the NHL, and then the college football starts up. The numbers are probably going to drop. But I think right now they're just looking to see, hey, if we anchor a show with Punk and we anchor a show with the Elites, which one do you think does better? And we give Punk the lesser advantage. We're giving the Elite the Wednesday night advantage. Do you think there's any chance that Collision fails numerically based on the day they're going to be on?
Yeah, Saturday's a tough draw. Saturday's a tough day for anything. It's a tough time slot. I just don't buy that he's only going to be on Saturday. I don't buy it. I think he will eventually be back on Wednesdays as well. Like you do not take the risk to bring Punk back if you're not going to use him on your flagship show. I just don't buy that.
It's very simple. You have everyone on any show. You just warn them ahead of time. It shouldn't be that difficult. Travel just has to add a little wrinkle onto their documents. You know, if so and so is working, this person's not working, or whatever it is. Like it's a little extra piece of work for them to have to deal with for now, and it might not stay that way, or it's gonna blow up again, and we're gonna be back to square one.
Yeah, I could see this being a thing where, like a week where the leader not there or not on TV, he'll be on Wednesday or something. But I don't think that every week he's going to be on Saturday. Like, that would be insane.
Yeah, I agree. He should be on both major shows. The Elite should also be on both major shows. Jeremy and I talked about this too. If you're a ticket buying fan and you want to go to see a specific someone, it would be helpful to know who's going to be on which show that week. But is it really going to make a huge difference? You know, if you don't know, is that going to, totally ruin your AEW experience?
Maybe. I don't know. I do wonder. I asked this on Grapsody. How soon do we talk about? Are they oversaturating the market? You've got a lot of ticket dates coming up. You're selling tickets to Wednesday shows. You're selling tickets to Saturday shows. You're selling tickets to house shows now. You're trying to get people to go and see ROH. It's a lot.
So what you're saying is Jeff Jarrett is a WWE mole sent to take down AEW from the inside as the live events.
Listen. If we're a few weeks from now and we're talking about debuting another world title, I'm going to be looking around like, what's going on here?
Tony's talking to people tonight. He's going to address the AEW universe.
Well, here's the thing. If he only trusts Chris Jericho and Jericho runs around saying, I held both titles at one time, then TK is probably sitting there being like, both titles.
Please don't do it, Tony. Please.
I don't want to see it either. I'd rather see MJF or whoever the champion is on both shows. And if a couple of people don't want to be on the show that the champion is, whatever it is, if you just need to make make a little accommodation for some people, yeah, fine. Travel just, again, has to work a little bit harder. That's just the way it is. And again, that could change. It will almost certainly change. But here's the other problem. Do you set a precedent that if there are other people having problems in the locker room who have some sort of cachet similar to Punk's, but not necessarily as important, do you handle the situation the same way? Because TK has now set a standard that if you don't like somebody and you're money drawer, then sure, we'll just, make accommodations for you.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Punk sets that precedent when you already have your new reality show where other person that is a draw can just get on there and just drag another person that they don't like, and it's okay because apparently it's fine when she does it on regular TV. I don't know. I don't know. Wrestling is weird. Everything about this is weird. I'm trying to not take it into, oh, these are awful people, and just laugh at it because a lot of it is actually very funny to me. But I don't know, man. I think people are going to be who they are. I think wrestlers are going to wrestle. People are going to be messy if they want to be messy. It's going to happen.
Simeon makes a good point here. The Elite are always backstage most of the time. They're executive vice presidents, along with Kenny Omega.
That's not what I heard.
Okay. Well, I mean, are they not executive vice presidents anymore? Is that...
No, I that's not what I heard, that they're backstage most of the time. There was a report that came out at one point that they're not as present backstage. They get in, they do their matches, they do their like BTE stuff, and they are out of there. And I think that is one of the things that people appreciated about Punk, is that he was there and he was willing to look at people's matches. He was willing to give advice. And not to say that they never do that, but I did see that criticism of them out there.
Okay, I missed this. I don't know who reported that and where that came from and stuff. Do you know who reported that?
Oh, I don't, but I also heard it from somebody as well. So maybe I just...
Phil, DM me the scoop so I can pre-write the story, please. Okay, theoretically, as executive vice presidents, they should be backstage the entire event. We know they have their hand. Omega has talked about, wanting to build the women's division and everything. I don't know how much he's doing on that side nowadays. We know for a fact that at the end of the Dark Order Phantom Punches stuff, Tony was like, I'm doing everything at this point. So we know things shifted then. But theoretically, as vice presidents, the Elite should be there for every show, trying to help, whether it's run things creatively, whether it's run things up at a higher level. They should be there at every show. And now, because of CM Punk, who's going to work this Saturday show and potentially some Wednesday shows. Oh, Sean Ross Sapp is making his usual run in. Hello, Sean Ross Sapp. Are you eating eggs?
I'm not eating eggs. I am eating salmon and sweet potato mashed and broccoli.
It's 11:30 in the morning.
Sean, can you confirm what I just said so I don't look crazy?
What did you just say? I just hopped on here.
I said that there was a criticism of the Elite that they basically get their matches in, they film BTE, and they're out of there, and they don't stick around. They don't stick around and give like advice, and like I heard this was a thing.
I will check on that today. Actually, I will ask around. I will see what I can find out as I do my beautiful hair here. By the way, Jeremy, what is this I hear on In the Weeds when you're like, "Where's my paid vacation? Where's my paid vacation?" I heard that on. That? You said that out loud on In the Weeds. Every vacation he's ever had is a paid vacation.
I probably did say that. Like I say all the time, I don't remember what I had for breakfast or dinner. You can't expect to remember what I said on a show like an hour ago. My memory is awful. Absolutely awful.
It is. It's very bad.
Can I get a paid vacation though?
I mean, all of them are. It's just a matter of you actually going through with your vacation.
Yeah, it's actually taking, or not getting ruined the moment I leave the house of something just happening here. All right, let me ask this question here of Elite theoretically should be backstage for everything because they are executive vice presidents helping do what they can. Now CM Punk comes in, potentially Saturday shows, Elite might not be backstage. What does that do with them? What kind of message does that send to everybody else? Phil first, and then Sean, if you want to chime in, go ahead.
Sure.
It's kind of tough to answer that because like we haven't had like a clear definition of what their roles as EVPs has been. So it's kind of like, hey man, it would be nice if they're backstage, but I don't know, what does that title entail? Like it just feels like it's just a title.
That's why, like, when people say, oh, well, why can't they just fire CM Punk, et cetera, I'm like, I don't know what his deal is, what his contract is, but I'm sure it's significantly different than everybody else's. Like, there might be some protections in there that we don't know about. Like, I can't apply what I know about one person's contract, and especially to him, because I'm sure he had some sort of very good protections in there. And the same with the Elite. And I mean, I've heard that Kenny hasn't re-signed yet. I don't know about the Bucks, but when I think about this situation, I do look at the other contracts, and a lot of the other contracts in AEW are like, okay, this is how much you're going to get paid. You're going to work 100 dates. But the EVPs are in such a different position than just even the top level wrestlers because they have so many more additional duties. Omega was supposed to go to Japan after All Out to promote the Tokyo Game Show video game stuff. Remember that? That was the video. There was a video game that was being made at one point, allegedly. I haven't heard anything about that in forever. But
Mike Straw's talking about it again soon.
What is it?
Mike Straw's going to be talking about it again soon. He says he's heard some stuff. Who knows?
But that got nixed. So, I mean, he's got some additional duties that aren't just like being there. And he even said, like, when he was injured, he had to pull himself back off the road. That's something he said to me in our interview. He wanted to be around every single week to be at those shows for that reason, but he thought that it was negatively affecting his return. So it's more of like, what the hell do they do on a week-to-week basis? And if they are in those roles and they are asked to help and they don't hang around, well, I think that's an issue if they don't do that. But again, I don't know what the hell they're supposed to do. And maybe in these next deals, Tony says, don't really need you in those spots. We'll just have you as talent. And I think that would be completely fine.
They might also negotiate it themselves. You know, how many times did Cody say, I don't want to do it anymore? Yeah, this was fun until it wasn't. It could be the same thing. We don't know.
Cody doesn't even want to watch his own matches now. Won't watch back the Peck match.
He called the titty match.
No responsibility.
Kenny has said in interviews, like, he does miss where he could just show up, have his gear, wrestle, and then that's it for him. And, you know, once he became EVP and took on more responsibilities, it became more of a job type thing and added stresses and stuff. So yeah, maybe they do. It was just like, hey, we'll just kind of take a talent deal. Sean, do we know how long Punk's contract is for? It was reported by some places 3. I've also seen 5.
Some talent in WWE said that they had heard 5, but now we're going on like 8-9 months that he's been sitting out. So I don't know if they have protections to freeze that as well. I know that when AEW does have that option, they love to implement it. And over on the WWE side, if they've got people who they signed in that big contract renewal period of 2019, I guarantee you they're freezing deals because the amount that they'll be paying those people now is so much more. But I don't know. And again, Punk might have different protections in his deal. Like, I had asked somebody, well, hey, did Cody's contract get frozen? And they said, well, you'll notice Cody never stopped working for WWE. He would do press. He would do a lot of other stuff. So they don't really have that protection. But with Punk, he hasn't been doing anything. So.
He's been on Instagram.
He has been on Instagram. That much I tell you. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a CM Punk. Sorry, go ahead.
Are they counting time from that first injury?
That's another thing. Shit, I even forgot about that.
Because he's gone from what, May till like August?
And that's why I say, like, when Punk comes back, you can't plan long term for him at this point after 2 straight injuries. Like, you have to plan for him to have one match, see how he feels, and then plan accordingly. But I don't know. Maybe I'll have a CM Punk story on FightfulSelect.com today. It's a Wednesday, so I'm feeling like it.
Yeah,
is there anything else
happening
on Wednesday?
What is it?
So is there anything else happening on Wednesday? Is that why you just feel like it?
Just feel like it. Just feel like it. Okay. See you guys later.
Thank you, Sean.
Bye, Sean. Thank you for adding to that. Phil, trying to get some scoops out there with the elite and how much they are or not sticking around backstage.
I just wanted to ask because I was like, I know I've heard that somewhere, so I'm not nuts, am I? I've heard that somewhere. That was definitely floated around.
Hey, even if you just concocted it, it's a good question of throw it out there. See what kind of bites on that. I believe you heard it. I was just wondering if there was a direct, if it was reported by anybody, or a lot of stuff just out there on Twitter. Twitter's a dangerous space when it comes to the dark Twitterverse.
A lot of rumors out there, man.
Yeah, that's how you get Roman Reigns versus Omos in Saudi Arabia. Dark Twitter.
Dark Twitter, just throwing stuff out there. Phil, all right, last question from me. How long? CM Punk's coming back. I think we all agree on that. How long does this last?
Well, how long does what last? How long does it last before there's another incident, or how long is he there?
How long does it last before there's an incident? Before there's an injury? Does he finish out whatever the contract is? But just how long does this last before Punk is just, whether it's his own doing or the doing of somebody else? How long does it last?
I think he's gonna finish out the contract, but how long before there's an incident? I give it a few months because seriously, I give it a few months because again, you can't have this guy in a building and there's still animosity with the guy. You haven't unless he goes back there and addresses what happened and he apologizes and makes amends in some way. There's still this lingering energy in the air. And when that is the case, something is bound to happen. So, I don't know. I hope that I'm wrong on that, but that was the thing with the Hangman thing. He went away and he stewed over this Hangman thing for 3 months, and he came back and first thing he jumped on TV and said was, "Hey, that Hangman guy." Yeah, so I don't know, and I feel like we're gonna see people being petty and people being silly, but we've been seeing that for months, and I don't think it's going to stop once he gets back.
I don't think he's changed. He's gone. He's made amends with everybody in WWE. He told Miz to suck a Saudi dick, and now everything's fine with him and Miz. He called Doofus son-in-law. Now he's fine with Triple H. He's going to go back in there. It's like, you guys, it's okay, you guys. Let's do some BTE skits together. It's okay.
If I've learned anything about my problematic fave as a fan of this guy for many years, is that he never lets go of anything. Ever.
Now, when he shows up and he wants to apologize to everyone and be like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
But I mean, just the fact that he showed up and apologized the way that he did is proof that he doesn't let go of anything. Supposedly flew from California to Chicago and showed up here to Florida. There you go. Florida to Chicago to do this. This isn't a guy that just gets over anything. I would not be surprised if he has not let go of anything. But that's why I'm like, he's got to address this in some way. He has to. I think he has to address it with the locker room. He has to address it with the fans as well. I don't think there's any way he can come back and not do that.
Phil, thank you for joining us. Before I let you plug everything, I, much like my hero CM Punk, will apologize and make amends for not giving you the time zone when I sent you the message. That is my fault. Phil Lindsey was not late. He was actually early, and I am sorry, Phil. And I hope you accept my apology and we can do business together in the future.
No, I'm just glad that the apology was as loud as the disrespect.
See, it's that simple. It's that simple, everybody. Phil, thank you. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me sometimes on the internet somewhere. I don't know. Places. I don't know. You can find me on Grapsody every Saturday at noon Eastern. You can find us on Fightful Select every other week on Thursday. Thursday, right?
Thursdays, yes.
It's morning. I don't.
I really get it today, especially. I get it.
Yeah. No, on Thursdays at 4 my time, 5 Eastern. Make sure you put those time zones at the end of the time. I don't want to confuse people. Yeah, you can find my writing at Bleacher Report.
Thank you, Phil. Much appreciated. Everybody support what Phil does. Don't yell at him on Twitter. Don't just everybody.
I don't. I try to stay away. Don't follow me. I don't need your follows. Don't
see. That's what I say. Yeah. Don't follow people on Twitter. Thank you, Phil. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again. I apologize for the time zone screw up. Thank you for joining us an hour early. The wife, as always, wants to let you know that you are right about Seth Rollins. So what? Do you think Seth didn't see CM Punk at Raw where hands gonna be thrown if Seth and Punk saw each other?
I would love an incident where he like walks past him and they like mimic the scene from 5 Heartbeats and Punk just like looks at him and just goes, "How does it feel to be me?" Just walks out. No. Are you kidding me? Getting to see this guy walk out there and me be twice as right about things, because I've been complaining about this world championship situation for a long time, and to see them debut a world championship in the city of Chicago, and Seth Rollins was the first person to stake claim to it, and he got the applause that he deserved. Listen, he's gonna be your next world heavyweight champion. It's gonna be great.
Hot take, Phil Lindsey.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a spoiler at this point. This guy's gonna be our next world heavyweight champion.
We'll clip it for the inauguration of the first world heavyweight champion. Seth.
Yeah, he deserves it. I won't speak on the fact that it's happening in Saudi Arabia, but he deserves it, and I'll take it how we can get it because he's long overdue. I'm glad that they finally allowed him to say on TV that Roman never beat him, because it's been a whole fucking year. Give him his rematch.
There it is.
Let's go. Now if Woods can get on TV to say the same thing and not have to do it in What Culture interviews, that'd be great too. Phil, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it. Everyone, check out Phil. Check out all of his work. Don't follow him on Twitter, but watch Grapsody Saturdays at 12 noon Eastern on YouTube.com/Fightful. That is Phil Lindsey. Everybody.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, Joel Pearl. What do we have tonight on Dynamite? What are you looking forward to tonight?
Let's get a couple of these super chats out of the way. Caden sends us one. In the weeds, but there's no weed. What is this? My CBD infused Diet Pepsi. That's what that is. And
I don't smoke.
There it is. And is the Joey Janela video on the list of topics? No, but my interview with Joey Janela certainly is if you go over to youtube.com/Fightful after you watch the show, because Janela and I had a very confusing chat after the GCW show in Toronto. Did you watch that interview? No, you didn't have to take notes on it.
No, I watched the Cardona one because that one popped me.
Yes.
But I've not watched the Janela one. I did see the video. I wrote an article about the video. I wanted to know how the food tasted at Hogan's
I saw
bar in karaoke. He didn't get back to me on that. I'll write an article on just Joey Janela's food review.
It was so weird watching that. First of all, that video is hilarious. I do have to say, just watching, like, I didn't realize Hulk and like his girlfriend, wife, I don't know, the Scientologist girl are just sitting in the back eating something, and then Knobs is just chowing down at the other table next. It's very surreal. It's very confusing. I can't stop laughing when I watch it.
My favorite part is when like Janela is, like, oh, Tucker Carlson, we lost the Great American. It's like, let's go, Brandon. And you can hear just one guy in the background who's just like, oh God. Like, one guy was not having it at all to the very beginning.
I kind of hope that Janela went to that one guy afterwards and was just like, just goading him. Just continue the bit, just poking the bear. Because that's exactly what Joey would do. He wouldn't go to the guy and be like, buddy, it's a bit. He would just keep going. It'd be great.
It was hilarious. Yeah. Janela, The fact that he did that in like the first place years ago to just troll Drake Wirtz, and now just brought it back. It was a good time to bring it back. So bless Joey Janela.
Yeah, no, that was good timing. I think that was well done, Joey Janela. You deserve it for that. Oh my God. All right, where did you want to pick this up? First of all, thanks Phil Lindsey for joining us, and of course, for some reason, Sean Ross Sapp had to show up again because that's.
Sean had good insight this day today, like just randomly popping in for no reason.
Yeah, just looking disheveled and weird and fresh out of the bath or something. I don't know. It's weird. What is it with this guy? He just
wakes up. He just wakes up. He grabs his eggs and then he jumps on our show for some reason.
I mean, is it a fandom thing? Is it like a Spidey sense thing? Does he wake up and he's just like in the weeds? And then he just.
I mean, he knows what time the show is. It's not like that's a mystery of when our show is airing.
That's fair. I guess we do have a good time slot.
He just wants to come on and yell at me for things that I don't remember saying on this show, which is probably going to get me in a lot of trouble one day.
That's fine. I try to kind of control you and put the kibosh on things you go too far. We're okay. We censor each other as needed, right?
I'm trying to get you fired, so no, say whatever you want. So I have just cause.
Yeah, no, that's valid. Valid. All right, as we start to wrap up, let's talk about Dynamite. There is a lot going on. Before we started recording today, we kind of had to look at each other and be like, what is going on Dynamite? Because like everything else is kind of overshadowed whatever's happening this week. But like the main event is Dax Harwood and Jeff Jarrett. Let's go.
Cool.
Tony Khan has an announcement. Sorry, it's now we will hear from Tony Khan.
It's always been we will hear from Tony Khan.
No,
I don't.
Major announcement. Tony Khan has an important announcement.
Yeah, but I'm saying for this one, it's just we will hear from Tony Khan. We don't know if it's an announcement. Tony could just be stopping by and be like, "Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to AEW Dynamite tonight, right now on this channel, right here on TBS. Please watch AEW Rampage. It's in an abnormal time slot this week." Due to the, I think so anyway, due to the NBA, due to the NBA or NHL playoffs. Thank you for your continued support of AEW. AEW has the best fans in the world. Justified "This is awesome" chant.
That's ChatGPT doing a Tony Khan conversation.
I'm not expecting anything of we'll hear from Tony Khan. Usually, if they have an actual announcement, it will be. We have a major announcement. We have a groundbreaking announcement, whatever. This is just, we'll hear from Tony Khan. Tony Khan's just going to speak.
This is like the DEF CON. Is it 1 is the lowest and then 5 is the highest, right? This is like DEF CON 1 of the TK announcements.
Don't get your hopes up on whatever Tony is about to say. He's probably just going to say hello.
He's going to be like, after the big news about Wembley, we're announcing the Owen Hart Cup, and it's going to be in Canada when we go to Canada this year. Who knows? That would be, honestly, of all the news to come out, I'd probably look forward to that. Not because I'm biased and Canadian, but also because, like, you have a Canadian tour coming up. What a way to bolster sales. Who knows? Could be the game. Could be, who knows? Nobody knows. We'll see what Tony says.
I would like to see, speaking of the just hearing from Tony Khan, I would like to see whenever there is a "This is awesome" chant in an AEW match, which is very often, Tony pops up on the screen, just full screen, and he's just like, "Justified, this is awesome" chant, and then he goes away. Just like a little bit play right there. That's what I want to see every single time there's a "This is awesome" chant in AEW.
Jade Cargill defends her TBS championship against Taya Valkyrie. Are 2 Valkyries going to go down in 2 nights, or is this the rise of Taya Valkyrie tonight after Lyra Valkyria lost last night on NXT?
As I said, was that an NXT reference?
It was an NXT reference. Also, by the way, I do want to put over Valkyrie or Lyra Valkyria. I think she's someone that people should be watching because she is a very talented wrestler and very good at what she does. Go check her out. But yeah, Taya Valkyrie versus Jade for the TBS title. A match that's happening on TBS for the TBS championship, Jeremy. This is big. Is this the end of Jade's run, or is it not?
Nah, I think Jade retains in this match. Okay, we'll hear from Tony Khan.
Taya cannot use Road to Valhalla. That is in the match. That is the stipulation.
All right. Well, I think Jade Cargill wins. We'll hear from Tony Khan, right? He shows up. Got a lot of Tony Khan ideas. He shows up and he's like, "So, you guys see Raw?" That's it. He's just like, you guys see what happened on Monday? Just nothing else.
He just shows up on screen. He says, "So, what do you guys want to talk about?" But he does it in his Tony Khan way. So he's just like jittery and just like yelling, what do you want to talk about?
I love Tony. He's the best. I hope every week we just need a Tony Khan segment. Don't care what he does. Just show up and say stuff. That's all I want.
Maybe he's going to announce the final episode of Dark Elevation airing tonight. Whenever it is. I think it's AEW Plus, the Fight TV subscription.
Apparently already it aired.
It was last night. You're right.
Best of. Yeah,
Monday. So maybe that's the end. He's just being like 10 bell salute for AEW Elevation. And we have to sit there for the beginning of the show.
Justified. This is awesome chant for all the matches on AEW Dark Elevation.
Wardlow speaks. Adam Cole speaks. Tony Khan's going to speak. Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin are going to have a match.
That'll be good.
It will be good. But even better than that, I'm looking forward to the international champion Orange Cassidy versus the returning Bandito.
Yeah, I don't rule.
That should open the show. Because if there's one thing TK is going to do, it's open the show with a hot Orange Cassidy match.
I don't think so. He's gone away from that for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, but also he hasn't had Orange Cassidy on the show wrestling for the last couple of weeks.
He has. What are you talking? Orange Cassidy wrestled last week.
Singles competition.
Was
he not? Was he in a singles match last week? I don't think he was.
My memory is not good on this stuff, but I will look it up. Buddy Matthews and Orange Cassidy, April 12th, did not open the show.
Yeah, we're back on this, though. Orange Cassidy Bandito, that's a match you open with. That's a high-flying match.
Orange Cassidy and the Butcher did not open the show. The
Again,
last two times he's been on Dynamite, singles match, has not opened the show.
Okay, so what were the matches before that? Because they all opened the show, and they were all like lucha style or flippy style matches.
Orange Cassidy, Jeff Jarrett did not open the show. Last 3 times on Dynamite. No, not according to Cage Match. I assume they have their match order correct. Maybe they don't. All right, what opened the last time instead of Orange Cassidy and Buddy Matthews? It was Darby and Swerve open that show.
Yeah, that was a car crash match.
That's not nice. Darby could have been seriously injured.
No, he was hit by a truck, not a car. We've been through this.
Oh, all right.
Anyway.
The trios match opened the show.
With Butcher?
Yeah, so no. Orange Cassidy kind of sort of opened the show. He's in the trios match.
Yeah, okay.
Last time. No, the Butcher match, Jack Perry and Matt Hardy opened the show. That ain't no flippy match right there.
Well, it is if you're Jack Perry.
I think Dax and Jeff Jarrett opens the show.
No, we'll see.
Darby and Sammy are the main event. Like let's be honest. Darby and Sammy are the main event.
Almost certainly, if not, and I guess then the crossover match is Butcher and Blade versus Omega and Takeshita.
Yeah, Omega and Takeshita is a good opening match, honestly.
Shut the fuck up.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. We're Styler and Waldorf, apparently. This guy thinks that we hate everything. It's fine.
Justified. This is awesome chant for In the Weeds.
Let's go. That was my favorite introduction of all time. Remember when Tika came out and introduced Giannis to the crowd and just freaked out? Good times.
Oh, so good.
I gotta find the video. Are you looking for the video now?
No. I misclicked. I was scrolling on something. I misclicked something. That was my fault. My bad.
So good. All right, Jeremy, let's get out of here.
Okay, bye.
Let's plug the stuff and then we get out of here. You know how it goes.
What do we have? We go back and watch Monday shows if you would like. We had Steve Macklin on the show. That was great. We had Ali Albright on the show. She was great. Those are going to be clipped up and put on Fightful Overbooked here shortly. I think Macklin might go up today. And
Macklin drops at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and Ali goes up tomorrow. We have Indeed tonight with Mike and Reg. We have tomorrow the Ali Albright interview will air. If you missed it on Monday, The Sam Adonis interview will air probably this weekend. We have Coexisting, Rob and Maggie, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I think that's everything. Spotlight this week, which is the main channel, Thursday. Tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have Jack Cartwheel on the show. That's myself and Steven Jensen. We'll be talking about the world of wrestling. But Jack Cartwheel was our interview guest this week. So we have that, and I think that's everything. I don't know. Don't follow me on Twitter. I'm just visiting.
Don't follow him. It's fine. Go watch Jeremy on the Spotlight on Thursday. And then come join us again on Friday as we get back in the weeds from 10 a.m. Eastern until noon. Once again, thanks to Sam Adonis for joining us and to Phil Lindsey. And of course, Sean Ross Sapp did a usual run in. We do appreciate when he gives us some news and information. That's the best part. If he's just going to come in and eat eggs, well, come on. What are we doing here? Go subscribe to Fightful Overbooked. We're almost at 14,000 subscribers. Let's get there. We are very close. We're going to get all the way up to 100,000 subscribers by the time we hit In the Weeds 100. That's when we get Denise Salcedo on the channel. Not really, but maybe who knows? Who knows? I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. Ladies, gentlemen, friends, me on the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.